Hi, this is Cem Kapancıoğlu. I'm the owner of CK Architecture Interiors. I would like to explain myself to our staff in a very casual way, what we do and how we do it, what are our values. As you know, CK Architecture Interiors in Dubai approximately 12 years now, operating as a design and builder. The reason we started as a design and builder was because we were young, and I believed this was the also only way. It's a belief. There are multiple layers of reasons behind that one, but the core thing was nobody was giving a young designer a work, so it was always business-wise easier to get things done design and build way, especially they are smaller jobs, to cover the costs for clients and to speed up the work. I think that was a win-win situation. And personally, I also I enjoy design and build more than the traditional way of designing and tendering and selecting the main contractor, etc. Now, what happened is, during all these years, CK Architecture Interiors became a vertically integrated, architect, designer-led, boutique design and build specialist for luxury spaces. And it's not only a fit-out company for the last 4 or 5 years. We also take everything from scratch, do the full design as a lead designer, include even very prominent and famous architects and interior design companies, and have done arrange the design in a complete package, and also do the construction together. So for clients, we are the single point of responsibility. Now, during these years, we have come up with certain values that really help us to do the full process. Before we just go through the values, I just want to give you the full brief of the full process. What does design and build for me means? First, the demand comes from the client, and usually demand comes because you have marketed yourself in a certain direction. In this case, our marketing is the message that I just gave you. We are a boutique design and build specialist, vertically integrated, designer-led, for the luxury, opulent, discerning clients. We marketed ourselves accordingly, and the demand comes accordingly in most cases. Sometimes we have to express ourselves. Now, after that one, the way we approach to the project changes because all clients have different procurement strategies. Some of them accept the design and build approach with a very basic estimation and a contract. Some of them would like to go deeper. They want to start with a design. Some of them doesn't accept any of them. They would like to go for design and cost plus fee. Contract type is also something that needs to be managed depending on the client. This is something very important. So we need to know, first of all, where we do, what we do, how we do it, how much it's going to cost, when we're going to finish it, and to whom we are working, to whom we will work. This is very important. The context is quite important from the beginning. And another thing that we need to consider is the team, the client, and the other parties are aware of the full process. What's that process I'm talking about? So once the design comes, the design brief is being collectively finalized, and a design program, a space programming has been finalized. Based on that, when an architectural design is agreed upon, and after that one, interior design, simultaneously mechanical electrical design continues with structural design, obviously, and then after that one, the concept and the schematic finalizes. It goes through the detailed design, and then after detailed design, it goes to a BOQ stage and specifications in detail and a tender package or a tender documentation in a traditional way, or it could be overlapping in design and build process. Because in design and build process, you don't need to finalize everything to start the project, which we do all the time, and the client saves a lot of time and money also because of this less overheads required for the same quality. So we came to a tender stage. The tender stage is the stage where you select the main contractor and the specialist contractors, like NEP, ID, FF&E, accessories, pool, landscape, etc. Some of them could be in-house also, which we do also. Joinery is a part of it. For instance, we have a joinery department in our company where we use it for really high-end jobs. And then later on, once the whole scopes are finished, the clients takes over the job. We hand over the job to client, and our defects liability starts. This is the full process. I can, if I may summarize. And this happens more or less all the same, with kind of similar players, but kind of different forms in many of the countries. Now, I think this is the process is more or less this. So you do design, and then you prepare construction drawings, and somebody builds it for you, and handovers, boom, the client starts operation. Now, it could be a restaurant, it could be a hotel, it could be a villa, it could be an office building, you name it. Now, what is important for us when we are doing it for the CK colleagues? I call them actually partners in most of the cases, because it's a partnership at the end of the day. It's probably close to a marriage than anything else. It's a partnership. We have like 14 main values that I have always tried to go around. I'm calling them values. You name it in a different way. Let's say rules. Let's say things that brought us here, or when we use them more, it was easier for us to achieve certain targets. First of all, of course, before we start anything, we need to know our targets, because targets bring us clarity. We know from point A to point B we will go. So if your targets are clear, then you have clarity, and when you have clarity, you don't lose time. You just go through your checklist and do everything. Of course, this is easier said than done, but this is the basics. So coming back to my values that I mentioned you, I would like to start with the last one that I honestly added in my list. It's actually knowing yourself. Now, knowing yourself, or as the old proverb said, knowing thyself, is about two main things. First of all, what would you like to do in life, in your business, in your career? And second one, do you have the ability for it? Now, in our business line, it's quite important to balance these two, because you might be good at something, but you might not like it. You might like something, but you cannot be good at something, and it gives a very it might make our life very difficult when you're in a teamwork if you're not balanced in that sense. And you need to understand yourself that you always change during this time. So knowing yourself is one of the most important things before we start to understand our values. I want to go to in a certain order. I think if you don't have this one that I'm going to tell you, let's say this is the first one. I started with the end, which is the new one. For me, it's also something that's very important. I think it should be the first one. Let's start with the first one then. Then the first one is, now I'm renaming it. Now the first one is knowing yourself. Okay. The second one is integrity. Now, Warren Buffett, when I was listening to him, he said, if you don't have integrity, initiative and energy comes back to you as a negative way when you work with someone. So integrity is the key thing. I'm going to simplify that one. So we do what we say, It's a form of honesty, obviously. We do what we say, or we say what we do. This is the most important part, I can definitely say. And the second thing, and the third thing, sorry, is honesty. The difference between, I think, integrity and honesty is that honesty is you need to do the right thing when even nobody is looking at you. This is very important in our case, especially because there are sometimes a lot of conflict of interests within the company, for our clients, for ourselves. I think honesty is the best policy, always. I would really recommend you to follow this one, even in the worst case scenario where the company or yourself should be affected. This is my honest recommendation for everybody, especially the young people. Now, the fourth one comes the proactiveness. The proactiveness is something, it's about taking initiative when also there's a little bit of risk involved there, that, for example, you need to do something and you know that you need to do it, but it's not in your jurisdiction. But if you don't do it, you know that the company will lose something. So you take an initiative and act on it without somebody telling you, which is, I think, is a great. It's a form of honesty, if you ask me, and integrity, because if you need to do the right thing at the right time, without even it's not in your jurisdiction or not your responsibility, I think you're a good person. I think it's a part of that one, and you see these kinds of choices in our line of business every day. Other one is for teamwork. Like, I want to just go structurally because I wrote these all, but I just want to go structurally. That's why I'm looking at my phone. Maybe it's better I just put it back. Let me just see if I can just make it bigger. So teamwork is not always what you think is like, okay, be a team player like that. Sometimes you need to know in a different team, for different people, even you are better than them or you feel like you have better qualities than them, you need to pull yourself back, or you need to push it more so that the team can be, but the best thing is here in the teamwork is open communication. I think it's one of the values also. So if everybody know themselves, which is the first rule that I mentioned, your first value, then I think a teamwork will be much more easy for everybody. But without the teamwork in our business line, it's impossible to achieve success. It's very important. You need to ask the question all the time. If you are questioning the team is not on the, are you doing your part for the team? The other one is initiative. It's again kind of proactiveness maybe, but initiative is like again taking action when it's necessary without waiting for any approval, and taking responsibility for that action can be summarized as that. And this is an interesting one, a sacrifice. Now, sacrifice in the sense that it's not like the all-time sacrifice thing. Obviously, sometimes it might affect you, not in a good way, but not in a bad way also, but you need to just sometimes give more from yourself to the team or the company than is required. I would say this one is about taking the extra mile. I do this one all the time for my friends and family and also my clients, and I always benefited from that one. So this form of sacrifice I'm talking about. Positive thinking. Now, positive thinking, we should always find an opportunity in every outcome rather than focusing on the negative outcomes. I think this is the most important part, because in our line of business, again, in design and construction, it's open to human error, and you always need to have a positive thinking attitude, solution oriented mindset. Openness is, for me, is actually, if you're not open and it's kind of stiff, it's whatever values I'm talking about is probably works for most of the businesses. But openness, we should be open to everything, at least to listen and understand. Now, this form of openness probably is applicable for most of the service providers, but in our case it's even more important because we are working with a lot of disciplines. Happiness. Now, it's an interesting thing. I cannot ask you to be happy all the time, but actually I can ask you maybe to pursue happiness, because happiness comes within. I can assure you that one. This is my personal experience in my 42 years of lifetime. We need to be happy to serve others, and to be happy we need to eat well, sleep well, move well, and not stress. As a minimum requirement, of course. I cannot tell that I'm perfect at it, of course. I also take the share of myself for these things. You always lack in one. Actually, there was a very interesting book that I read from Mark Zuckerberg's sister. She said, out of this 5, you have to always pick 3. You cannot have social life, fitness, sleep, work, and family at the same time. You need to take, out of this 5, you need to set 3 of them as a priority in any given day or week. Now, in our line of business, learning new things are very important always. We have to always learn new things. So you need to explore. Exploration is the key. Going to places, Googling certain things that you don't have any idea is a perfect way to understand context, to find new materials, to find new specialist contractors, and to meet new people, so that you can actually include them in your designs and construction. Now, the other one is empowerment. Now, it's actually connected with the teamwork value. Obviously, most of the organizations are triangle organizations within hierarchy. In our case, it's more like probably a rectangle, I would say, if not a half sphere. So in the middle, there is a managing director, and then other parties are involved. So here the key thing is, if you don't give power to others, you don't share the power, and you don't let them use the power, you will be ending up giving all the decisions which you would never be able to. So it's a part of being a team. We need to empower ourselves. Empowering yourself is again a part of proactiveness and initiative, and others, so that they can help us and our cause to be achieved with better results. This is the key. So, and last 2, planning and communication. I think planning is something nowadays is being kind of too much dehumanized. I'm not really fond of that one, but you have to have a plan, obviously, but that plan should be something intentionally, especially our business line, especially in residential. It should be quite flexible, and everybody should know that it's flexible. It's important that flexibility and such values are quite important. And the last thing is the communication, where, see, you sometimes think that you are actually explaining something to your friends, colleagues, but actually you are maybe passive aggressive. You don't know, because what we communicate, we communicate in a superficial level, but honestly, a person's the final thing is the words and the behaviors, right? But if you go down, you see you have your belief system, and then you have your thoughts, and then you have your emotions, and then your emotions defines your behaviors, and then your behaviors and all of the below defines the words that you speak. Now, communication, I think in this time of the world, is something that you need to be very careful, because it's very complex now, and you need to understand the context here when you communicate with people. So you need to be as open you can and as clear as you can. Try to select the words carefully when you want something, but precisely ask what you're going for. If necessary, divide it. Thank you very much for listening the values part, and I think this will help you to be more engaged during our tenure with us. Thank you.